LinkedIn top tips. So firstly, I've already introduced myself, introduced that I'm the other half of Elite for Safety. So I'm not a public speaker or a LinkedIn expert. Definitely don't class myself as a LinkedIn expert. I've never paid for LinkedIn training. I don't actually have any marketing experience, but I am going to share some things that I've learned through trial and error, and basically been posting for, I think, about 2.5 years now. So there's been a lot of trial and error in that time. So I'm going to share what I found works for me. So why should you listen to me? So you don't have to. You can ignore everything I'm going to say if you choose. So generally, I get quite good results from LinkedIn. So I've just put a few bullet points. So I've currently got over 40,000 followers on LinkedIn, which the influence comment always makes me cringe, and it always makes me feel a little bit weird that there's that many people seeing what I do, because if there was that many people in the room, I would go and hide. I'm not actually a very extroverted person, so to me it's still, I don't think I'll ever quite get used to it, and it's steadily growing. So yeah, it's taken about 2 years of being quite active on LinkedIn to get to that point. That's not go on there, post a couple of times, and that's the results at all. I'll go through obviously the steps of what I do, but I just want to say that that's not an instant, easy, straight away achievable thing. You do sometimes see people that get viral posts and get quite a lot of followers straight away. I'm not one of those people. I'm much more with the consistent posting. So an average post reach for me is between about 10,000 and 500,000. So sometimes it's less, sometimes it's more, but average, that's what I can expect. If it's within those ranges, then I'm like, that's fairly average. Usually I'll find that the business posts are the lower end of that scale, but I think I found a way to get them a little bit higher, which I'll go into a little bit later. Regular business leads. So for context, as Peter was saying, we started our business pre-lockdown. We launched, I think it was like the February or March, literally just before lockdown. And what we do is face-to-face training. So as you can imagine, that was quite a challenge, because although we kind of had an idea of what we wanted to do, and we should have had a couple of things straight away, it took us probably about a good year before we started really picking up with things. But definitely through lockdown and the 6 months after lockdown, I want to say, because it was from the January, it kind of was still a bit iffy, so people were still quite funny about having people come in face to face and do the training. So we started from zero, but we continued to post consistently throughout that time. So it was probably about a year really of consistent posting. And then 6 months after, in the 6 months after lockdown, when we started actually getting out and doing training, so our business turnover was just under 100,000 for 6 months. So all that work that we'd put in through lockdown and through building our brand and building the awareness had started to convert, which is obviously the whole point of what we were posting. So through LinkedIn alone, we now currently have about 80 clients and potential clients. So that number isn't massive, but some of those clients are multi-international billion-pound companies with like 500 sites that want training. So majority of those are from LinkedIn and from referrals from people from LinkedIn. So we've definitely got the results from the business from the posting. So yeah, from those first 6 months, it has steadily grown. I've also had various opportunities, like being invited onto multiple podcasts and collaboration opportunities that people have contacted me for because they've seen me active on LinkedIn. I've also got a really strong supportive network, so I know that if I'm looking for something, for example, I did a post asking for a wedding photographer and I got loads of recommendations, and it's just nice to have that supportive network. I think especially when you own a business, you might work on your own a lot, or working from home, it's quite different to obviously being in an office and being around people. So I've really built my own network and support through LinkedIn. And then the other thing is the tens, maybe hundreds of messages from strangers thanking me for positive impacts that I've had through posting, which for me that's quite a big part for me that makes it worthwhile when you do something and then somebody's like, oh, thank you, you've really helped me get through the day, or I was thinking this, and it's just nice. That's a nice bonus for me, but I understand not everybody is on there for those kind of things. So, why is it jumped there? Right, let me just go right back here because I've just clicked on it one bit. Let's try again. If I click on the arrow, it won't jump 10 slides. Next one. So one question that you should be thinking about is, why are you using or not using LinkedIn? So there might be a few reasons. Initially, I went on there to get inquiries and grow a business. I wasn't massively interested in the networking. It was just, we need to get this business going. We need to make some money, basically. But my use of it has changed over time. But I think it's important to know what you want from it, and that can be more than one thing, but it's something that you need to know when you're posting on there, because I think it actually has quite an impact on the direction you should be going when you're posting things. I'm obviously quite a fan of LinkedIn, and I think that so many people can get value from it in different ways. So you've got all different kinds of people on there. So like I said, you get the recommendations. You can get like job hunting, what people obviously initially think it's kind of used for, and for getting business leads. So I think that most people can benefit from growing a LinkedIn following and posting on there regularly. So tip 1 is be consistent and visible. So Peter already said about this, and it is the consistency is the main thing I think that is important with posting on LinkedIn. So it's not something that will happen overnight, and I'm not going to say, post and then within a few months you'll have this and this, because you can be posting for 6 months to a year before you even get one business lead through LinkedIn. But it's worth it, because all that time you're constantly building your brand and telling people what you do and putting your message across. So consistency pays off over time. So these are my analytics, a year's worth of analytics from August to August, 12 million views of my content. So those views, people click on your profile, they go onto your profile and see what you do, or even if they just see you consistently popping up, you become a familiar face, which is the aim, really. So you need to be seen. So being visible isn't just about posting. A lot of people go on LinkedIn and think, right, I need to post, and they will put all this time and effort into creating posts and putting their message out and putting out what they do, which you do need to do that, but it's like a networking event. So I've said there, you wouldn't go to a networking event and just stand in the corner and shout sales pitches at people, because it's about engaging and building relationships. When you post as well, you should be replying to comments. So if you're posting, asking a question or getting engagement, if you're not replying to comments, you're not going to get the maximum from it. I have to say that I don't always reply to all of my comments, because some of my posts do get so many that it's overwhelming. So I've had to really be a bit easier on myself when it comes to that, because when you're building it and you've got a few, though, you should be replying or aiming to reply to at least every single comment that you can within reason, without spending hours and hours on that. I also think this is why you should use your face, so post videos and photos, because it will make people more likely to remember you. So patience, it can be time consuming, but unless you keep popping up on someone's feed, they won't remember you. But this also works to your advantage, because you can repurpose content, you can repost posts and change them slightly. So I've got a notes section on my phone where if I have an idea for a post, I will just jot it down in the notes section. So I'm some days I will go and be like, right, I need to post something. I'll just go on my notes, scroll through and think, oh, I posted that one did okay 6 months ago. I'll change it slightly and post it again. Because not everybody is going to see the post that you did the first time. And if you spend time writing content, it's a shame for you to write it, post it once, and then that's it. Even if you take bits from it or repurpose it into a video, if you're into video. I personally, it's not my favorite form of content, purely because it takes me a long time to do. So Harold's preference is video, and he posts a lot of video. He's very good at it. For me, I would much rather do a written post with an image, because it's less time consuming. I feel like I can say what I want to and need to better. I can read over it and check I'm saying everything properly. But I do think it's good to try and use other formats. But I'm probably not the best person to be saying that, because I very reluctantly every now and again do a video. But it's good to reuse posts and reformat stuff. So how to get attention. So I've been called an attention seeker on LinkedIn quite a few times, but that's the whole reason for posting. So that's why I'm here. That's why everyone's here. It's meant as an insult, but I'm just like, that is why I'm posting. That's the whole point of it. So a few things to think about when creating your content. So how can I make people stop scrolling and want to hear what I have to say? So that's where I think the photos and videos come in quite well. Because if you're thinking, for me, I'll spend time on LinkedIn and I'll scroll. And if I see a familiar face of somebody who I know that I like their content, or I've spoken to them, or I've seen them before, I'm much more likely to stop and read what they have to say than if I just see text posts with the little picture in the corner. That's how I use LinkedIn. So that's how I assume everyone else does, which isn't necessarily the case. But for me, if I see something that needs to grab my attention, or a particular person, the other thing is the first line of your post. So you need to grab somebody's attention with that first line. So it's something that takes a little bit of practice, and sometimes it's not that easy to do if you've got a post that's quite a generic way. How can I get people interested in this? But with time, just try different things and you'll find things that work for you, whether that's videos or how you write or whatever it might be. But it really is just about trying different things. The other thing is, what do you want to be known for? So we come back to the why you posting question, because you essentially want people to see your face, your post, your content, and associate you with something. So it's worth thinking about what you want that to be. And the other thing is, how much am I comfortable sharing? So think about your boundaries. Remember, what you put out there is out there and it's gone. So I have put some quite vulnerable posts on LinkedIn, but I fully thought about it. I would never do a vulnerable post while I'm still feeling vulnerable. I always do it in hindsight, because I think that sometimes if you're doing something quite vulnerable, there's quite a lot of emotion behind it, and you can post and then afterwards be like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have shared that. That's not the kind of post that you want to be doing. The other thing is with sharing strong opinions on things. There's a lot of kind of like political things, and people see your posts, even if you comment or you like posts that are strong opinions, people can see that you've liked it. sometimes it will come up and say so-and-so liked this post, and I've had it a few times recently where I've seen quite controversial opinions, people liking it. I'm like, oh, okay, right, interesting. And you form opinions on people, so it's something to be really mindful of when you're posting and when you're engaging on content and when you're commenting, because especially when you start to grow a network, people can see, the more people that you have following you and connected with you, the more people can see what you're engaging with. So it's something that's quite important to be mindful of. So tip 3, doesn't all need to be business. So there is a bit of a thing where people at LinkedIn is a business platform. It's technically a professional networking platform. So people do share personal things on there, and achievements and life milestones and goals, and you will always get the people that leave that it's not Facebook comments. I get them quite regularly, but for me, I'm like, it means you're doing it right. You're getting a balance there. You want to get to know people, you want to understand what people are doing in their free time, what their interests are. It gives you conversations starting points, and that's all part of networking. So my most viral post to date was a personal one. Oh, what's it about? I'm not getting on with this. I feel like I should have practiced it. So this was the post. This is the post that got nearly 2 million views, and it was a post that I did after we got married. And I basically just dressed it up and said, yep, changing my name, did a recommendation for the photographer that we used because she was brilliant, shared a few photos, and it went absolutely mad. So that's not an average normal number for me, but it just goes to show. And that was a weekend post as well. So for a Sunday, that's pretty big numbers. Generally weekend posts don't tend to do as well, because some people don't use LinkedIn on the weekends. So yeah, that just goes to show that not everybody is on there just for business stuff, and people do like to see personal stuff as well. So tip 4, engagement and post reach doesn't equal leads. So although the likes and comments and views are great for visibility, you do need to talk about what you do. You need to keep reminding people, and it's a really good idea to make sure that your profile is really clear for what you do. So you've got your headline, which is people see that every time you comment on something, so make sure that that's quite explanatory to what you're doing. So mine says tailored health and safety training or something. So it's like if somebody's like, oh, health and safety, that's my area, click on my profile. And then when you're on your profile, you've got your featured section, so you can pin posts there. So I think mine is a post explaining what we do, and kind of the post that you would want people to see if they were coming on and might want to buy your services or do business with you. So it's really good to make sure that you make the most of that and the about section. So it doesn't need to be like a CV. Think of it more of like a website where you're selling yourself and explaining what you do, rather than I worked and went to this school and did this and did that. If that's not relevant to what you're trying to achieve, then there's better ways to use that space. So think outside the box. So this is, if you can link personal posts back to what you do, then that is the best, most effective way to get maximum from your posts, because the personal posts generally tend to do better with engagement. So if you can then do a personal post that's going to get the engagement and link it back to what you do, then you get the best of both worlds, because you're talking about your business, but you're also getting the engagement because you're not just saying, this is what I do and this is my business. So that I have found is quite an effective way to do it. I wasn't doing that for quite a long time, and then I realized actually I'm missing a trick here, because I'm doing all these personal posts that are doing quite well and getting a lot of engagement, and then I'm not actually telling people what I do or why that's linked to what I do. So that's something that's really worth putting time into when you're drafting content, is thinking, how can I relate this back to my business? And it's okay to sell. So for example, this one here was a few days after the wedding, and I was like, right, I need to post something really. I haven't been on for ages. And I went on, and it was, everyone was just, seemed like everyone was just strong opinions, digging at each other. And I was like, oh my God, this is horrible. Why is LinkedIn like this? So I literally just did a post and said, yeah, I don't like the Bible LinkedIn today. If anyone wants health and safety training, here you go, with a photo. I was like, right, I'm leaving that there. And it's fine to, I think it's fine to do that and tell people what you do, and just be like, yeah, if anyone wants this, then let me know, and just kind of link it back vaguely. It doesn't, you know, you don't need to overthink every single post. And tip 5 is be yourself and enjoy it. So don't be afraid to show your personality. Also, don't force it and try and be somebody else, because you might see somebody else doing well and think, oh, well, they do well because they share vulnerable posts. If you're not comfortable sharing vulnerable posts and that's not the kind of person you are, you don't need to do that. Just find what works for you, and don't be afraid to show your personality. The other part is find people that you like interacting with. So for me, when I started posting, there was a few people I was like, oh, I like them. I'm going to comment on their stuff. And you can actually do the bell reminder now, so you get a notification when somebody posts something. So I've got a few people who I have that for, and then I'm like, oh, I'll go and write on their, engage on their content. But it's much more about making relationships, I think, because as we were talking about, business often comes from recommendations. So if you have people that like you and know what you do, they're likely to recommend you. We've had quite a few recommendations and been tagged in things with people that we've never done work with, but they've seen what we post and, oh, I really like what you do. But they've never been on a training course, so they have no idea really. But what we post and what we say and the things we share has given them enough trust that they would feel comfortable recommending us to other people. And if you're using it just to get business leads, ironically, you probably won't get many leads, because if you're just posting business, 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 you're not building those relationships, you're not building that trust. People don't feel like they know you, and you're probably not going to get as much as you could if you were actually building relationships. So summary, so be consistent, visible, and patient. You're there to get attention, so don't be afraid to show your face. It doesn't all need to be business talk. The best results come when you network and build relationships, not just salespeople. You do need to talk about what you do. You want to be the face that people think of when they think of your product or service, and be yourself and enjoy it, because when you build a supportive network and have interesting conversations, it can be a really good place to be. So that's it.